So here is a bit of a random fun video for you, and it's something different to what we usually make with all the meta builds and everything that needs to be kind of very min-max and giving you the best weapons. But in this video, we're just going to be playing around with some fun class setups. So if you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, don't forget to subscribe as we're trying to reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. And also click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our main channel. We do post stats content on your favorite weapons over there as well. But what this video is all about is all the dual weapon class setups that you can make inside Warzone. So we're talking about guns like the AUG and the AUG, and we're building class setups based around that. So that is what this video is all about. So first of all, we're going to go in order of viability. So 5 is going to be not so viable, 1 is going to be quite viable to use inside Warzone. So first we have the AUG and the AUG. So we've got the Modern Warfare AUG, which is the close range option, and then the long range option is your Cold War AUG. And to be fair, this is not super viable. I mean, the Modern Warfare AUG by itself is a pretty decent gun, but the tac rifles are just not the best at the moment in my opinion. But we'll go over the builds anyway. So for the Modern Warfare AUG, you do want to use a lightweight suppressor, and that is because the monolithic suppressor just hinders your movement speed, and you just can't afford that on a Modern Warfare weapon, especially considering how good all those Cold War SMGs are right now. The 5mm laser for better hipfire accuracy, and that is one of the main benefits of a Cold War weapon, or a Modern Warfare weapon should I say, sorry, is that you do get better hipfire accuracy with the Modern Warfare counterparts when it comes to SMGs. Then you want to go for the ultralight hollow. You can go for the CQB comb. It does have slightly better aim down sight time, but the ultralight hollow gives you faster aim walking movement speed, which is what a lot of the Cold War SMGs have as their kind of benefits. Then I did use the stipple grip tape for the faster aim down sight time and the faster sprint to fire time. And then lastly, the 5.56 ammo with the 30 round mags. Now you do need this ammo conversion to get a consistent TTK. You do get a slightly faster chest shot TTK with the standard ammo, so you could go for that if you did want it. But in my opinion, the more consistent TTK with the better damage profile does come with the 5.56 ammo, and this is a pretty decent SMG build if you want to pair it with something else, for example. So the build for the Cold War AUG here is the agency suppressor for the sound suppression and the damage range, as well as the bullet velocity, the strike team barrel, which is the best barrel for this gun. It gives you the faster fire rate, it also gives you bullet velocity as well, it gives you a slight con to effective damage range, but that isn't really too important with tac rifles. Then we're using the axial arms 3x optic. You can use whatever optic you like here, but this is my favourite. The 45 round drum mags, because you don't really need anything more than this. It doesn't have like a super fast fire rate or anything like that. And you can down multiple opponents with a 45 round drum if you do land your shots, that is. And then the field agent foregrip. Now this is not the best tac rifle in my opinion. If you were wanting to use a burst fire tac rifle, I would mainly go for the M16. I do think that's slightly better. But that is the class setup for the double AUG class. At number 4, we have the double Bizon class, which is basically the Bullfrog and the Bizon. And once again, we're using the Cold War weapon as the long range option here because the damage drop off isn't as bad with the Bullfrog as it is with the Bizon. So that's why we're going to get a slightly better TTK at long range with the Bullfrog. Now, of course, you're not going to be beating out some of the assault rifles that are really good at long range, but it's still pretty competitive, and it's definitely better than the Bizon. So for the class setup on this one, you do want to use the GRU suppressor for the sound suppression, recoil control, bullet velocity and damage range. The recoil on the Bullfrog is a little bit easier to control than the Bizon in my opinion too. You do want to use the Liberator barrel for the best bullet velocity. If you go for Task Force, you're going to con your recoil, so that's why I think the Liberator is slightly better. Then you do want to go for the axial 3x optic, and this is going to be a pretty good optic for this kind of weapon. The 85 round mags, and the reason for the 85 round mags or even the fast mags, either or, doesn't really matter too much, especially because you're going to be using this at longer ranges, is because you do want to have that larger ammo capacity there if you do miss shots. It is quite likely because this is still an SMG, keep that in mind, and it will take you a few more shots to kill an enemy at long range, and you do want to have that larger mag there to do that with. Then the Spetsnaz grip for the best recoil control, and this is going to allow you to use this at kind of medium to long-ish range. You're not going to be beaming enemies across the map with this thing, but like I said, it is a fun class setup to use regardless. Then for the Bizon, we're using a similar build to what we used with the AUG from earlier on. So lightweight suppressor because you don't want to give any constant movement. 5mm laser for the best hipfire accuracy, and this gun has super good hipfire accuracy. I use the GI Mini Reflex because you don't really need a mag attachment on this gun. It already starts with a really high mag capacity. I think it's like 60 rounds. So you don't really need a mag. And the iron sights are not the best on this weapon, so that's why I put the Mini Reflex on there. No stock for the faster movement speed, and then the stipple grip tape for the faster aim down sight and the faster sprint to fire time. This is a fun class setup all in all. It's not going to perform super well, but I do think it's slightly better than that AUG class setup from earlier. Moving on into some of the more viable classes now we have the double Uzi class, which is basically the Milano with the Uzi, and we'll get into the Uzi, which is the close range option right here. So again, a very similar build to before, lightweight suppressor. Again, you don't want to con that ADS or anything else on this weapon when it comes to movement. The Uzi is actually one of the best weapons for movement when it comes to Modern Warfare, so you should still get a pretty decent movement with this gun. The 5mm laser again for better hipfire accuracy, no stock again for better movement speeds. The stipple grip tape for the better sprint to fire and aim down sight time, and you do need the AE rounds on this gun for the faster TTKs because it does improve your damage. It is only 32 rounds though, so keep that in mind, but it is going to give you a faster time to kill, so you do want to go for the AE rounds, very similar to that 5.56 ammo conversion on the AUG. Then for the Milano, which is probably one of the better weapons to be honest, this is the long range build for the Milano, which I have made a video on previously on this channel with gameplay, so if you do want to check that out, you could watch that. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this one. And it's got the agency suppressor for the sound suppression, bullet velocity, recoil control and damage range, the Ranger barrel because you do want the bullet velocity without any cons to recoil, the axial 3x optic or whatever optic you like, the 55 round Stanag mags, and a Field Agent foregrip for the better recoil control. This gun actually performs really well at long range, even though it's an SMG. You do get very low recoil, and now that the Krig has been nerfed in terms of recoil, this can actually fit in pretty well in there as a low damage, kind of low recoil long range assault rifle. So I highly recommend trying this out. Definitely a very viable loadout here. Moving on into another one that's really viable, especially right now anyway in the current meta, which is the double AK class. Now, of course, you do want your Cold War weapon as your SMG always because you're going to get the movement there, depending on the kind of circumstances when it comes to damage drop-offs and things like that as well. But for the most part, when it comes to assault rifles, they don't really drop off too hard when it comes to damage, and that is why the Modern Warfare AK is in the long range option right here. So you do want to use the mono suppressor for the sound suppression and damage range. RPK or Romanian barrel is up to yourself completely here. And this is going to give you the best bullet velocity, the best recoil control, and the best damage range. VLK optics a must because it does actually help with recoil here. 40 round mags I do think is more than enough. I've seen people use the 75 round mags. I feel like it's a bit overkill on this gun because the TTK is pretty good if you do land your shot, so you don't really need the 75 rounds. And then the Commando foregrip, which I believe to be the best grip on this gun because there is a lot side-to-side recoil. But if you do need the Merc foregrip or the Ranger, you can definitely go for that as well. But this is the best build for the Modern Warfare AK in my opinion. Then as your SMG, you're using the Cold War AK, and this is just basically built for max movement speed. We all know that I love movement when it comes to Cold War weapons, and I've built this for max movement right here. So you do want to use the standard suppressor because it doesn't con your ADS but actually helps your ADS. It also helps the sprint to fire as well, which is good. Ultralight because it gives you insane strafe speeds, which is just ridiculous to be honest. Tiger Team Spotlight again for the faster movement speeds. You can actually go for the Bruiser grip as well, which both are really good attachments. It's kind of personal preference. I do think the Bruiser grip slightly better in my opinion. I skip over the mag because 30 rounds is more than enough to down 2 enemy players with the Cold War AK47. It is a pretty fast killing weapon. Serpent Rat for the faster ADS time, and Skeletal Stock to improve those strafe speeds even further. Now this gun's amazing to be completely honest. At number 1 we have the best class when it comes to dual weapon setups, and the main reason for it is that the XM4 is so versatile and performs really well at pretty much everything in this game. It's such a good weapon. You can use it for sniper support, SMG, assault rifle. You can use it for whatever you want really, and it will work really well for all of it. And then the M4A1's a pretty solid weapon all in all. It always has been, and it probably always will be within its current meta anyway. And with the M4A1, you do want to use the mono suppressor for the sound suppression and the damage range. Grenadier barrel for the best bullet velocity and recoil control, as well as the damage range too. Commando foregrip for the best recoil stabilization. With the M4, you should not be using a Ranger grip or anything else. The Commando foregrip's the best option. 60 round mags because it's the biggest mag capacity, and then the VLK optic because it helps with recoil. And this is a solid weapon at long range, doesn't matter what kind of game mode you're playing right now. This works really well in Verdansk, Rebirth, even in Iron Trials. This actually works okay too. You will be landing all of your shots with this weapon. It's one of the most accurate guns in the game right now, especially after the nerf to the Krieg and all that kind of stuff. I would highly recommend the M4. And then as your close range option, we're building the XM4 as an SMG. This is a build that I've been using so much in Rebirth. I've gotten used to using this weapon and it works extremely well at close range. So you do want to use the regular suppressor for the sound suppression, aim down sight time, and sprint to fire time. Tiger Team Spotlight, again, you can go for the bruiser grip, but in this case for the XM4, I think the Tiger Team Spotlight's slightly better. I don't know why, it just feels better to me. And then the 45 round mags, you don't really need anything more than that. The damage per mag with the 45 rounds is pretty decent still, to be fair, with the XM4. I don't know why it's that good, but it's pretty decent. You don't really need 60 rounds with this. I've seen people use builds, long range builds with the 45 round mag on the XM4, so close range you'll definitely be hitting your shots anyway. Serpent Wrap for the faster ADS time, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then Raider Pad, which is probably one of the best attachments with the XM4 because it gives you that strafing speed. But that is definitely number one when it comes to the best kind of M4 and M4 class. And those are viable class setups. Of course, there's a double MP5 in there as well, but you can't really build the MP5 for long range, either one of them, to be completely honest. That's why it never really made this list. But if you enjoyed this video and you just enjoy seeing more fun videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're trying to reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and click that link in the description and subscribe to our main channel as well. And thank you very much for watching.